Hello and welcome to another episode of Devs on Tape. Today I have another very interesting guest I met here at Kscope. So he appeared almost immediately when I joined to the conference, and he appeared also on the same kind of explosion on social media a few months ago. So please welcome with me today Jonathan Dixon. Hello, Jonathan.
Hey, Kai. It's really great to be here. Yeah. It's awesome.
Glad I got you into this room here to talk to you for this episode. So I just started this or introduced this podcast with mentioning that you just appeared on social media, and you got a very, very high follower account already, just posting very interesting stuff, right? But maybe we can get a step back and get a more in-depth introduction of your life and career.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can assure you it hasn't been just now. I'm quite old. So I started off in technology probably 1994 back in the UK. I worked for Oracle UK for 4 years or so, doing actually Oracle ERP implementations, doing forms, reports, all that good stuff, all the way back to Forms 2.4. I worked in the UK, like I say, for about 4 years. Got a chance to transfer over to the US about 2000, and continued to do ERP extension stuff for another 10, 15 years. I got real lucky and then started getting involved in Oracle Fusion Cloud while I was still working with Oracle Consulting. So that gave me an opportunity to look into a bunch of new technologies, because EBS, it's been pretty static technology-wise since, other than forms going from character mode to GUI mode, there's not much else has changed. So I got a chance to see more stuff in Fusion Cloud and get into more complex integrations architecture, all that good stuff. And then I left Oracle. After 18 years, I was at Oracle total. And I went to work with a group of guys, a smaller company. And that's where I got into Apex. So they had just heard about Apex themselves. They had hired me to do EBS extensions, still the same old stuff. It was about a mile from where I lived, and I wanted to stop traveling at Oracle. Mm-hmm. So they got into Apex. I was walking by somebody's desk one day, and I saw somebody playing with Apex. They didn't really know it too well, but I saw it, and I immediately sort of was drawn towards it. Tried to learn a little bit about it. Where is it sitting? Is it in the database? How does it all work? And pretty quickly, I made an association. Well, a lot of our EBS customers, they had Oracle database with EBS. Apex was no additional fee for the database, and it gave me the opportunity to get a bit more creative, because in the ERP extension world, especially EBS, doing Oracle forms and reports, there's not much room for creativity or going outside of the box, or it's a very rigid structure for what you can do to extend an EBS application or what you're supposed to do. So we started playing around with using Apex to do extensions to EBS. In many ways, it was a ton easier than having to be constrained by some other stuff you had to do in the EBS space. And I just loved it. I don't think I touched another formal report. Maybe 2 months after that, I never touched another formal report. Big time into Apex. It was around 4.2, so relative latecomer compared to a lot of folks you meet around.
Yeah, I started at Apex 4.2, right? Okay. So I was from the beginning using dynamic actions. So they were introduced with 4.2. Mm-hmm. But this was not the point where you started to getting active on social media, right?
Oh no, we're still a long way from that. Yeah.
Were you attending any community events, or did you participate in any way?
So I went to a Kscope with that company. I'm going to forget how long ago that was, but it was in Seattle. It was the earlier Seattle one. So I've been to Seattle twice, but I was very under the radar. I was still a very shy EBS extension guy. So then I left that company. 2 other guys and me created a company that's doing more Apex stuff. We posted a little bit on Twitter and stuff like that. I did write a bunch of blogs. It was a company called JMJ Cloud. You can see a bunch of my blogs out there. But we sort of advertised it as part of the company as opposed to me personally. And that's probably one of the regrets from back there, that I didn't make those blogs mine. And I see a lot of people making that mistake and posting solely to their company, and they don't own that
I can understand
IP,
that,
right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So then COVID came along. We were real busy. I was doing 60 hours plus a week. My wife and I were moving from Texas to California at the same time. We did the math and we figured we could retire.
Oh, yeah.
So we went to California and I retired for about a month. Sat on the beach for a month, basically, didn't do not too much.
I'm just trying to imagine how it would be to retire and be in California at the beach. Why did you come back?
Well, in sitting at the beach, you got to know when the tide is low and when the tide is high, because when the tide's high where we were, it completely covered the whole beach, so you couldn't sit on the beach. Mm-hmm. So, having done a lot of Apex, I put together a little Apex app, and the NOAA organization in the US has web services to tell you exactly what the tide level is now and predictions for what it is in the future. So I built an Apex app.
Of course.
And as I'm building it, I'm thinking, wow, I'm really enjoying doing this. So I finished that app up. Still during COVID. So my wife has a sister back in Texas still, and she's trying to interact more with her niece, who's about 6 or 7 years old. And so I built a tic-tac-toe game in Apex again for those guys to play and interact. Again, loved it. Thought, why am I not doing this more? So then I started writing some blogs. Still no work yet, but then that's where I found Hashnode and started doing a whole bunch of blogs on that platform. Then I started tweeting about it and just thought, this is nice. I'm enjoying doing it. I was still learning, and I think that's probably what I missed the most from work before, was still learning and keeping my brain active. Then I reached out to a customer I'd worked with before in the UK just to do a few hours a week just to get back into it, and they were really open to it, doing that. And I kept the blogs going, and it was really just keep writing consistent blogs that I put a lot of time and effort into to getting them looking good and being proud of, and I started promoting them more because I was proud of them.
That's a very, very interesting point. So how much time do you invest in doing those community contributions?
I'm going to say about 8 to 10 hours per blog. Some if I know the topic really well, I can sort of knock it out in maybe 4 or 5 hours, but usually you never know a topic as well as you think you know it. So I go to write about it, and I'm not a big promoter of myself. So the first few blogs that went out, I was very concerned that I was going to get criticized, and or people would say, well, that's not the right way to do it, or whatever. So I really researched and tried to make them perfect. And over time, I've sort of dialed that back a little bit. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would say on average 8 to 10 hours, because there's 2 or 3 hours of doing a POC. I always write code for every blog I do to make sure it does what I say it's going to do.
Yeah, sure. Of course.
Then just sort of knock out a draft, and I might revisit it 10 or 15 times. I'll do a whole bunch, come back to it, tweak it, go away again, come back again, and that's my method.
That's quite an invest, right?
Yeah, it really is. But I get a huge amount out of it. I mean, I really do enjoy it.
I mean, you did the right thing to say, Kai, yes, I'm coming to your podcast. Everything is great. So there's no critics on here who are going into your stuff, because I mean, what should they criticize? We were talking about your career, right?
Yeah.
But so you created like an app. I saw that in open mic night the other night, and I was very happy to see that still people are writing such great things in Apex. So you often see like big data analytics applications and so on, but there's still some room for games.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah.
Great. So you got back into Apex development, right? So you said a company was hiring you, that you are working for them.
Yep.
And you are back in the business and working for customers, right?
Yes. I've got 2 customers right now, one in the UK, one in Canada. Can't seem to find one in the US, but that's
Of course. I mean, today it's not necessary to be on the same.
Right.
Are then the topics you are writing about in your blogs coming out of those projects, or do you just walk around and say, hey, we should talk about petitioning right now, right?
Yeah, it's a bit of both. So sometimes it's a new version of Apex, and selfishly, I want to learn it. And so while I'm learning it, I figure I'll share it, and I learn it better if it's going to be published. Like I say, I do a lot of research, so I want to make sure I know.
Yeah, it's a win-win situation, right? So everyone who is presenting at conferences is doing exactly the same, right? So I would submit an abstract. It might be something I'm not already into. And yeah, then you do the research, do your job, and then you're getting an expert in it. So if I imagine I'm writing so many blog posts as you do, there must be a big bunch of knowledge in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, like I say, about half are things I'm wanting to learn or pick up on, but half are based on experience and stuff that I've done before. In fact, one of my customers says, I'm really glad you do all that, because I get the advantage of that knowledge without having to pay for it, essentially,
of course,
because I already know it going into doing that.
Yeah. And so you became an Oracle ace again, right? So you were not before, obviously, because you didn't share that much content besides the company blog. And then it got very quick that you got in the ace program, right?
Yeah, it's something I actually looked at maybe 4 years ago, and I wasn't that keen on it at the time for whatever reason. I didn't pursue it. Like we were doing some blogs on a company site, but when I looked at it again a year or so ago, it seemed like it was more energized. I think they released the program, re-energized the program, and I liked what they were trying to do with it. And I wanted to get some recognition as well, because it's not all selfless giving out blogs to the community.
Of course, yeah.
It is nice to have a little pat on the back every so often. And so I applied myself. I didn't feel like I could reach out to somebody else to ask them. It's just my mindset. But I listed out all my blogs and all the stuff I'd done before, some of the stuff I'd done before as well. And I was fortunate enough to get accepted. Yeah. Very proud of it.
I'm sure it will not take that long to see another Ace Pro.
Yeah. I was, the points are based on blogs, so I'm watching those points, and I think I was 3 times over the number of points last year because of that.
I mean, it does. So we are talking about the Oracle Ace program. So this might be something new for some of our listeners. So maybe I'm doing a short wrap up about the Oracle Ace program. So basically, you have to be nominated, or you nominate yourself. It's possible in the entry level. And then you list your contributions you did for the community. There are certain rules you have to follow, that those contributions are your own and not in a company context, for example. And then you're getting points for that. So right after you got the nomination done and you were accepted, you're getting an ACE Associate. Right after you're an ACE Associate, you are following some contribution rules, and you got almost everything rated or not rated. You get points for whatever thing you are contributing to the community. This could be presentations, this could be podcasting, this could be blog article, book writings, webinars, a big list of things you can do then. And then you have the possibility to just raise another level, right? Yeah. From Ace Associate to Ace Pro and then to Ace Director. And you're collecting the points, and there are certain rules that have to be followed that you can reach another level. So what broke my neck was the time I am Ace Pro, because not Ace Pro, Ace Associate, because I went out of the program. My daughter was born 3.5 years ago, and I got an Oracle alumni, Ace alumni. Back then it was called alumni. And then all ACE points were frozen, and I was a frozen alumni, I think, because I would have been a normal ACE, which is now a ACE Pro. And yeah, means I went out of the program, came back, was nominated again, got the ACE Associate, but had like double time points for a director already. Right. And had everything in place, but the duration of being an associate is not long enough. Right. And the duration from an earlier promotion to pro, which happened in August, is not long enough for now to have this upgrade after this current evaluation phase. So we are watching, and we're collecting points again. And I don't really know when you were promoted to ACE. You're an ACE Associate right now.
Or I'm an Ace Pro right
Ace
now.
Pro.
Yeah, I don't confess to know the program inside out, but I submitted myself as an Ace Pro. I don't think you can submit yourself as a director, but you can submit the form as a pro. I wasn't expecting to get it, but I like I say, I had blog posts spanning a number of years, even though they're a company site, and I presented at Open World once on Ords, and I presented 2 other times at Kscope in previous years. like I say, I was under the radar then, so people didn't know me from now. So I had some history of stuff to say that I had been contributing previously.
That's great. So you ended as an Ace Pro. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, keep contributing. I'm looking forward to see another director in front of me in the future. But I'm very interested in this switch. So I'm not into. I didn't understand yet. When did this switch in your mind happen that you are now, okay, now I'm contributing to nearly everything and now I'm outcoming, right? Not under the radar, but now I'm confident enough to just share whatever it is.
It's weird. I'm not convinced I know the answer to that question, Kai. It definitely had to do with the retirement and everything, because like I say, everything got a bit overwhelming with moving and COVID and everything. So I sort of got out of the game, and just having time to reflect and think and back over my career and realize that, yeah, I've done some stuff that's worth sharing. And I just got over that hump. Like I said, up until that point, I was always reticent to publish stuff because I wasn't sure what other people were thinking. Because I've been to Kscope a few times, and I'd see all these guys that knew their stuff, and I'd be sort of wide-eyed and still do. Like a whole bunch of people have walked up to me this week and talked to me, and I said, "Why is he talking to me?" It's weird. I'm just sort of getting used to it.
I heard that very often from fresh and new speakers that are active in the community, right? So I brought a colleague of mine to the conference, and that's the first time he met you, right? So, and he was saying, Jonathan Dixon is here. And I said, yes, the first time I saw him too. and I was just curious because I didn't know where you are coming from and why. So like you see kind of a journey when someone enters the community. So by the way, it's the best community you could have joined in, because you see so many great people and they are grateful for what you're doing, right? But the journey is starting at some point, then they're starting doing presentations, getting better and better, and do more and more stuff. And it was like instantly Jonathan Dixon is on the screen, and that's it, right?
I think that the 20 odd years that went before that had a lot to do with it, because in a consulting environment, I was with Oracle Consulting for 18 years. I was super confident. I could go to a client, tell them what they needed to do, be very comfortable in my own skin and in communicating what I think needed to be done, and be clear and passionate about it. It was just sharing that with the outside world that took a bit of getting used to. And that was, I think, retiring, taking a complete stop, reevaluating, and then saying, well, I do know stuff. I've proven I know stuff, and now I'm going to start sharing it.
And it's getting better and better, right? So if you see how grateful the people are, and you do it here in person, because when you're doing a presentation or when you're just being there and answer questions, here in America, you're really, really seeing the gratefulness of the people saying, I'm following you. And for example, that I used this blog post to solve an issue at a customer side. And this was extraordinary for me, that I just get the abo on your blog, right? So the subscription. Yeah, pretty cool. And thank you for contributing on this thing. So yeah, what are you doing on the conference here in Kscope23?
So I've actively done 2 presentations so far. I did one presentation on building faster REST services with ORDS on, I guess I'm not even sure what day it is today, but that was on Monday. And then this morning I did one on integrating Office 365 services with Apex. So I have a bunch of customers who want to do that kind of stuff, and I've done it a few times. So that was one of the ones where I drew on knowledge from actual implementations. And then I was super fortunate to be on the ACE panel today at lunchtime. Again, super nervous, never done anything like it before in my life. But I was up there with some great guys, and they really made me feel comfortable. And like I say, the community's so friendly, so approachable. It was awesome.
And now you have like a better picture of who's following you, right?
Yes, so, you see the people.
Yeah, you have a great feeling sitting there answering questions, and you see the gratefulness again from the people sitting in the audience.
Exactly.
The next time when you're publishing or contributing something to the community, you know who the people are you're contributing to. And now you know that in Europe it's almost the same. So inside the company I'm working for, Jonathan Dixon is a name, right? Because they said, I don't know where he's coming from, but I like the blog posts and so on. So very widespread, exactly the thing. What do you think is the mystery or the big tip to be such a successful social media? I would just say not startup, no, like starting social media and being like successful from minute one?
Yeah, it was funny because I had 37 Twitter followers a year ago.
Yeah.
Now it's 1,100 or whatever. For me, I did a bit of reading on blogging, and not too much, but I did a few hours of research, and it seemed like quality and consistency, and it's the same in your career or anything else you do. Really, it's quality and consistency. If you do something really well, and you it's clear that you enjoy what you do because it comes across in what you do. So if you write something that you enjoy writing about, and just being consistent. And so I'm now committed to doing, I think 3 blogs a month, and people expecting to see that. They know that the blog post is going to be coming out. It's a bit daunting to begin with, knowing you've got to create that content. But like I say, I love doing it. So that's the biggest thing, I think, is that I really enjoy doing it.
Great. Do you plan to expand the contributions in the social media world a little bit more, like dancing on TikTok or something like that?
It's funny. I'm a big fan of Connor McDonald. The things he does, I definitely wouldn't go. I'm not extrovert enough to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I really like that show that Anton does on a Friday, that YouTube show. So I'm intrigued to think about something like that. Still haven't figured out the right thing to do yet.
I mean, the first step could be just to reach out to those shows and be present at these shows, right?
That's a great idea. Yeah.
Because I mean, you're a guest at Devs on Tape.
Mm-hmm.
It is maybe not comparable with like the Anton show there.
Mm-hmm.
I call it Anton show. But I mean, to be guest there and you see what's maybe missing at such a format.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Connor McDonald, we had him in the podcast last year.
Awesome.
And he was talking about exactly what he is doing, and there's so much time in it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that in a normal life. I mean, maybe you retire again just to focus on social media activeness. Yeah. But yeah, so almost like 1,000 and a couple followers in 1 year is quite a good thing when you see that the community we are in is not that big, right, as like influencers are reaching way higher scores and followers, but in this bubble where we are working in, it's quite a neat number, I think. Yeah. So did you prepare blog posts for the time being here at Kscope?
Well, I've
scheduled or something.
I'll tell you a secret. I've got about 8 blog posts in draft mode at any one time. I get anxious when I have less than 5 blog posts ready to post. So I've got blog posts ready to go. I've seen a whole bunch of stuff this week that I want to go and look at. Like I just saw something on WebSockets. I knew nothing about WebSockets. So I'm going to go try and figure that out next week, I guess. So yeah, I'm always getting ideas for stuff. So it's fascinating.
So let's hope that your need for new information will never end, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so your plans for retirement are gone.
Yes.
So you want to stay in the business for at least like...
Yeah, probably till I keel over. Yeah, it's like I say, there was a bit of a panic moment for a couple of months, and then I love it so much. I'm going to make sure I'm never going to get that far, do that many hours a week anymore, because that was a part of the problem, and I'm very conscious that I'm not going to do that again. Yeah. But I like I say, I love, even with customers, I love the feeling of helping people. Obviously, a benefit getting paid for doing that, but that sort of gives me life, if you like, to get that feeling. So
are you working like full time right now, or do you do some kind of reduced hours so you can cover the time you are contributing stuff?
Yeah, I'm doing less than 40. So I've got 2 customers at the moment. I'm very fortunate that they sort of understand that situation, and they've worked with me, and they still like working with me doing that number of hours. Because a lot of times people just need help here and there. That's not necessarily always, like in my ERP days, I did a 2-year project here and a 2-year project there. But in the Apex world, we're lucky because it could be a month-long project here and a 2-day project there. So working in the Apex world really helps with keeping it down. Fortunate that my wife works as well, so that financially I can do this. So that's great.
Yeah. If I could imagine, like just working for fun with reduced hours in California.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound jealous right now, but yeah, we are again very grateful that you're attending or that you're contributing your knowledge, and yeah, very great to hear that it can avoid people from going into the retirement. That it's, I mean, you couldn't do it with forms, right?
No, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I couldn't have built that forms app to show when the tide levels were. It wouldn't have worked out. Yeah.
Great. So you talked about your presentations you're doing here at Kscope. Will you publish them on your platform so everyone from our listeners maybe can access them?
Yep, I've already published them on Twitter and LinkedIn. Both of the presentations are based on blogs I've done. The blog links are in the presentations that I tweeted. So I'm just really expanding on principles that I have blogged about before. And then obviously if anybody sees anything and they have any questions, I'm open to go.
Great. So I will put those links to the mentioned presentations in the show notes so our listeners can access them really easy. All right. So what are your plans still for the conference now? So you had two talks. Today we will share the ACE dinner together. Mm-hmm. But what are the plans for the rest of the conference? Do you have still more talks to visit besides the WebSocket?
I don't remember what my schedule is for tomorrow, but I'm definitely looking to learn more. And most of the time I'm at conferences like this, I'm just trying to think of like the WebSocket thing I saw. And I saw Philip did a presentation on offline, and I'm going to see yours tomorrow as well, and see which way is the best way to do that.
So this podcast is not self-marketing, so I'm glad you're saying that.
So yeah, those kind of things, and I might not go out and do that, but you get pieces from these ideas that you can then leverage, and that's what I get out of it anyway. It's like Philip's presentation I just saw, I thought, well, I don't have a use case for the whole thing, but I could see where I could store something locally and do something with that. So it definitely gives me inspiration to then think about.
And I think this is the spirit. So from personally, when I have to answer this question, from this conference or from almost every conference, I have like kind of an inspiration I'm taking out of the conference. And when I'm heading home, I have like 1,000 ideas. So that's what my colleagues are saying the same. We are mirroring our ideas. And if you compare that to being at home during COVID and you have like zero inspiration, you don't have the energy or you don't have the spirit to, not the spirit you're saying in America, right? So you don't have that tension that you want to do something new and you want to evolve your stuff, right? And when you're going back from a conference, especially from Kscope, you have a whole bunch of ideas and inspirations and you want to check it out right now. And regarding the offline and the WebSocket stuff, this is really the future, I think. You might get some new stuff from the guy presenting tomorrow of the offline topic.
Looking forward to it.
Offline topic, right? It's always a great thing to get some inspiration and always think about what to do next, right? So you can be a specialist in things that are already out there, or you can just be the guy who is bringing out, or the guy, the boy or the girl or whatever, to bring out the new stuff, right? You have to explore, you have to do researching. And as long as I'm into this topics, I will try to get offline into the Apex project or the Apex framework natively. All right, so I will ask you now some questions from our categories, because we are comparing our guests with the same questions and they are separated in different categories. So hypothetically, in private and consumption. We will start with hypothetically. If you could undo one technological trend in the past, what would it be?
I would say I forget the name of the technology, I apologize. It's the distributed computing, where people were doing, like, I guess some technologies like Netflix warrant having 1,000 or 1,000,000 servers. But I guess I'm pretty biased being from an Apex perspective, and where it's all mostly one server. But I just think people make technology too complicated. For example, I was in the second ever Fusion applications project. It was an on-premise project. And somebody showed me the architecture diagram for Fusion applications, and I nearly fell off my chair. I swear there was 50 boxes in that diagram.
Okay.
And I still believe all of that could have been done in Apex. I firmly believe that. So.
Yeah, it could be compared to Kubernetes, right?
Yeah.
Or any modern microservice technology.
Microservices.
So, microservices. Yeah. I was guessing either it was microservices or Kubernetes. So I read about that, and I heard that I think Amazon went back from a microservice structure back to a monolith. And it was like a couple of times faster to make it like this. I think you don't do it over complex, but I think there are a couple of learnings, right?
Yeah, complexity is I guess that's the word I would have used, to get rid of complex technology where it's not necessary. It's
great. So exactly the opposite of that. Hypothetically, what would you like to invent or create in the technology sector?
I'm very, aside from Apex, I'm very interested in integrations. So I'd like to create something that makes integrations easier. I've had some thoughts about building, I do a lot of stuff, like I say, a quarter of my blog posts are about ORDs, about building some integration technology with ORDs, because again, on the complexity side, I find too many customers are using Oracle Integration Cloud when they don't really need it. If you have Apex and ORDs, you essentially have an integration platform. So I'd be interested in building something that could make that a bit more formal for small to medium-sized companies.
This sounds not like a concrete plan, right? Yeah. It's not hypothetically. It's what's in your queue.
Yeah, I actually had a use case for it at a customer a few years ago, and I've been thinking about it more recently since then. So no,
I think you could just reach out to the community. Because if you don't want to do it all by yourself, I know how much work you can put in this. As you can see in the flows for Apex project, for example, if you open source that, you will find great people from the community helping you with that topic.
That's nice.
Unless you want to do it like as a paid product. But if it's just a contribution to the community, I wouldn't do it alone, because you get help from every single side, like Oracles by themselves. So
that's a great idea.
Just to my 5 cents, right? Yeah. All right. Another question from this category. Hypothetically, what do you estimate will be your daily life in 10 years?
Hopefully it's exactly what it is now. So it's about 6 or 7 hours heads down coding, just getting into stuff, writing blogs, coding, a couple of hours hiking, getting outside, spending time with my wife, sitting down, having a glass of wine at the end of the day.
But 20,000 Twitter followers, right?
Well, I was very fortunate. Adrian gave me an invite code to Blue Sky, so I'm going to start trying that out now.
Oh, great. Awesome. So you're hiking. I heard that. Did you went to the Rockies here?
Yeah, I have a friend who lives here in Denver, and he took me up there on Saturday.
Oh, great.
So we drove up didn't hike. We drove up to 14,000 feet, which I guess doesn't help very much with the folks in Europe.
Yeah.
I'm from the UK originally, so we didn't convert very well either. So my metric's not great.
Yeah, that was the same as we are feeling like you have a jet lag and then you're losing your breath for any reason.
Yeah.
During a presentation, it was pretty hard to stay on top of things because, the air is way thinner, I guess. And they told us not to go on the Rocky Mountains on the first day when we arrive here.
Okay.
And the funniest story is that we were in the plane and watching like impatiently the screen to see when we were finally landing after 10 hours of flight time, airtime. And we saw the height on the screen, the altitude on the screen, right? And it was decreasing, of course, because we were landing. And we said, okay, it's just 1,600 meters. And then we thought, what's happening right now? And then it was reset to null. And then we found out to null, 0. Yeah, we found out that sure, and Denver was way higher than when we left off from Frankfurt, and we already noticed all the different things. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I notice this now when the jet lag is way better than the last days. That we're sitting in the 9th floor right now. It's even higher than the normal thing, and you have to adjust to that too, right?
Yeah, I was going to make a joke in one of my presentations when I was at 14,000 feet. I checked my watch and my heart rate was 145 standing still. And I was going to say that's the only other time when I'm standing still, my heart rate's 145 is when I'm standing in front of you guys or at 14,000 feet because I get quite nervous.
You're nervous when you're presenting, right?
Definitely, yeah. Today was a bit better because I was in the same room and again, I got more comfortable with the environment. But yesterday, my heart rate was up there. I was dry mouth, everything.
I think this will never go away.
No.
And it's good that it's like that. I learned to know people who are not nervous at all when they're going on the stage. And I would say you hear it or you're getting it, that there's no Yeah, not so much passionate.
Right. They say that in sports, right? That if you don't feel nerves, then you don't want it enough, right?
Yeah, exactly. But nice to hear that. Yeah, that another presenter is also so nervous before presenting. All right. So next category.
Mhm.
So we're in private now. So are you satisfied with your work-life balance currently?
Currently, yes. A year and a half ago, very much no.
Yeah. So what would be, I guess we already talked some of it,
Mhm.
but what would be one tip you would give someone who's exactly in the position you were 1.5 years ago?
Is to ask. It never hurts to ask or to request, to say, it's getting a bit much for me. I need to be able to pull back. Because sometimes you just don't say it. You just get overwhelmed by it and you let it get too much. And what's the worst somebody can say is no, right? But
Yeah.
maybe they'll understand. And
So directly approach either your manager or your
in this
customer.
case, it was my business partners. Yeah.
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 Okay, great. All right. So currently you are satisfied with your work-life balance, and this will hopefully never
Mhm.
change. All right. Next question, also from in private. What role does your private environment play in your job? Are you surrounded just by geeks and just going from job to geek speech with your with your friends?
So my wife is a functional financials consultant for Oracle ERP. So, having been doing ERP implementations, so we trade off ideas off each other, not technical, but business ideas and what might be useful to business folks. So I find that very useful. I think she finds it useful to understand the technology a little bit more. But my friends are generally geeks, so it's all geek talk there. But my wife, I get to cover the business side a bit.
Yes, sometimes if you're just surrounded by geeks and you're just talking about technical stuff, right?
Mhm.
It's interesting, but it doesn't help you to shut off your
Right.
head after work, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be careful if it's even if you're working not that much, but if you're still inside your bubble all day, every day, it could be a problem. But
Okay.
who am I to tell to tell you here about that? But yeah, all right. So next question from in private.
Mhm.
Would you show us your screen time on your iPhone or your cell phone without blushing?
Yeah, I think I would. Yeah, I really don't do much apart from Twitter and LinkedIn. I don't do too much on my phone. I read the news, but yeah, that's about it. I'd be fine with that.
But it's always on every free second you get your phone out and refresh the Twitter feed. Or
I'll tell you what, that break I had helped with that, because I sat on not literally on the beach every day for a month, but most days, and it just sort of, I did a reset, and I still do. Like when I posted my slides this morning, I was curious to see if people were responding to that.
yeah.
But it's maybe 2-3 times a day now, not 2-3 times an hour.
I remember that like a couple of hours ago when Philip was presenting, I took a picture of the presentation and posted it on Twitter, and it doesn't take like 30 seconds to get a like from Jonathan. So I was just guessing you might be more active than you are saying right now.
Oh yeah, actually, you caught me out there. At this conference, I have been looking more often.
I mean,
you
it's the
you got
greatest
me.
way.
Yeah.
It's the greatest way because we are twittering on the conference in this bubble with a certain hashtag, so you can follow everything online.
Right.
And yeah, it's one personal thing for me to share as much as possible from the conference to get everyone on board, and even for the people who are not attending the conference to follow the stream and see what's happening right over here. All right. So last category, consumption. How do you consume news and especially new knowledge? Do you read newsletters, Twitter, books, magazines, or even the Devs on Tape podcast?
News, like I say, I'm from the UK originally, so I have the BBC News app. It's more or less the only news. I have Apple News on my phone. So if I'm bored, I'll look at that. But if I want to read the news, I'll look at the BBC. For tech news, I look at Tech Meme. It's a website that has a feed and a website, so you can get a newsletter for just general tech stuff, like what's Microsoft doing, what's Apple doing, what have you. Pretty much everything Apex or Orange related is from Twitter or LinkedIn. What else? That's about it, really. That's pretty much what I focus on for news.
Yeah, great. So maybe kind of already answered from the consumption category, but how do you deal with the growing flood of information via various channels, right? So you said you have the BBC app on your phone, you have the Apple News app, and that's it. So I would not expect too many notifications from them during the day.
Yeah, I don't have notifications. I don't have notifications turned on for anything except for email.
Okay.
Literally nothing. So that helped me a lot. That was a big thing. So I decide when I look at my phone. Obviously, a phone call would come through, but and texts. So I guess I'm making exceptions already. But like, I don't have notifications on Twitter or LinkedIn or anything like that.
I mean, to be able to be contacted, it should be great. So texting you, calling you, maybe DMs from social media's apps should be okay, in my opinion, because if someone tries to contact you directly, it's almost the same like emails, and it's not the same as when an app from a popular news outlet is sending you the news, boyfriend news from one of the pop stars, right? You should avoid that still. But I think that being reached is today something we are constantly in. So everyone can reach us through various channels, but you have to take care of that. You're not flooded by information. So your approach is just to disable everything and then just enable those channels you will be reached from.
And then I'll check on a regular basis. So like most of the time you wouldn't expect to wait a day, more than a day for a response from me from like a Twitter DM, for example.
Yeah.
Emails, I'm more on it, especially in work. I'm an inbox zero guy. So I will hammer that inbox until there's nothing there.
That was a question which was in the categories before. Inbox 0 or inbox 100,000.
Oh, I get stressed out when I see the little red notification on people's inboxes when they're presenting.
Yeah, I'm always looking at it. Yeah, right. Yeah, so inbox 0. Wow, there's nothing being held on.
It's also
like a parking station.
It's also a privileged position because some people cannot physically do that based on their role too. Yeah. So
I mean, there is a way to archive emails or to put them away in folders. So there are badges on the folder, but your inbox itself is 0 because you took care of that. Yes. So that's the way I'm doing it. So I have
that's good
reminders that's coming back to me at a certain time when I'm thinking that I can answer those questions or meet the requirements for that. Inbox can be 0. And there are sometimes I'm doing it again and again and again, and then I lose track on that. But I'm trying to reach the goal to have an inbox 0, because if there are 3 mails, you're always seeing them. You're always tracking them what to do. If you have 100 mails, those 3 or 4 important mails are not visible anymore, right? So you have to go through them. So I had rules that are just sorting my emails away automatically. And I had rules that are just prohibiting me from watching those emails that are interesting, like go please newsletter folder. Inside the newsletter folder, go in your own thing, and I will just watch on the weekend or in the evening on these mails. But inbox 0 at the end of the day is something I wish like for years now, and it works for a week. But it's better than nothing.
I just had an idea actually. So I did my Microsoft integration demo this morning. You could have a Microsoft integration to your email inbox and then use some AI to detect where that email should really be, which folder it should go into.
This is a very, very interesting approach because, so for our listeners, I'm recording pretty much every day here at Kscope podcast episodes. And I had a talk with one guy. I will not include, I will not say it right now who it was, but we talked about the same thing, like not more than 30 minutes ago.
No way.
We were talking about AI in Outlook, because if someone puts a double booking of your calendar, there should be 3 emails deleted from the inbox as a sanction. And you should be able to reorganize your day by AI. So which appointment is with important people who are very, very hard to catch.
Right.
This should be staying on the same place. But usually you are eating at 1, for example. Then there should be a break. And those meetings are better afternoon. So you can concentrate on those things in this time. And now you are telling me we can do an integration from like Apex to the Office suite. I think we should come together on a table and find out what's the best way to find a solution on that. So that sounds like a great idea to bring in Apex AI into the Office suite.
Yep.
Great.
In fact, I know an engineer at Microsoft, and they might beat us to it because they're putting in ChatGPT into everything they've got.
I saw a couple of beta tests showing that, and I was seeing yesterday the Apex Office print guys from United Codes showing the demo, like templating generated by AI. I was a little bit frightened, but yeah, we will be covered with very well-crafted texts in the future, and we will never know who wrote them. Yeah. But maybe we all will get into reading more quality stuff because it's, it's auto-generated, but maybe we enhance our way to read things.
Yeah, in my blogs, I use Grammarly. Yeah. Not to generate text, but because I'm not that good at grammar, and I'm not ashamed to say it, but I want people to read it and not get distracted by the grammar. Yeah. So,
same here for this podcast when I'm recording in English. So there are a couple of occasions where, many of the people are just being angry about that, I think. But yeah, we are doing our best. So, and if you are using Grammarly, I didn't see a service which is optimizing voice on podcasts. So unless this service is coming out, you listeners, you should, just take it as it is. And
it's perfect.
Great. All right. So I have another last question for you from the category consumption. Do you turn off your cell phone at night? So is it completely off grid then?
It's not off, but it's set to that mode where only my favorites would come through. So like family, essentially.
Yeah. So emergency reasons we were just talking about. All right. So I was very glad to have you here in my podcast or in our podcast. Caro, unfortunately, cannot be here in America, but she, has a couple of sessions in Germany. You will hear them. But I'm very great that you accepted my invitation to this podcast. And I'm very happy to talk to you. It was very inspiring for me to see that it is possible to reach goals even after you maybe said that this is nothing anymore for you, so you want to retire. So this is some time ahead from me, but so it's basically just a thing of I wish you had or a path you want to follow, and you said, all right, I want to try that, and obviously you succeeded. Yeah. And that's a very inspiring thing, and maybe we get some open source software out in the future. Yes, and that's it. Thank you very much, Jonathan.
Thank you, Kai. It's a privilege. I really enjoyed it.
And thank you to our listeners. And yes, see you soon. Have a great conference, John.
Thank you.
And have a great time to our listeners. Listen up in 2 weeks to the next episode of Devs on Tape.